Today marks 55 years since the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And today and every day, community members are highlighting the changes, initiatives, and influence that he had and continues to have. We're joined this morning by three very special guests. We have Virgil Parker, Dr. Christine Richards, both from the MLK Commission, and Aqua Porter of the Rochester-Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative. Good morning to all three of you. Thank you so much for waking up with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We appreciate it. So first and foremost, I want to talk just about the importance of the day.
Yes.
Why is it important that we recognize and remember the impact that Dr. King had and the impact of today?
Certainly. Well, Dr. King is one of the most prolific leaders in our history. He left us at a very untimely age of 39, and at the time, his work was a catalyst to so many civil rights laws of the 1960s and work around our country. So he's left a blueprint for us to consider to follow to address structural inequities in our society, and we kind of want to work towards his philosophies to build a society that we're all proud of.
And we do have community initiatives. We're fortunate enough in Rochester to have community initiatives that continue to push that narrative and move our community forward, correct?
Certainly.
Yes. I mean, you know, one of the things that I think is so interesting to me is that right before his death, he was talking about a push for poverty, on anti-poverty, right? He was planning a big march on poverty in Washington. Unfortunately, he died before he could actually execute it, but 2,000 people building a tent city, bringing the disparity and the concerns of poor people to the nation's capital so poor people could be seen and their plights could be understood. And that work is the things that he talked about, the things that he was really concerned about are still relevant today.
Very relevant. I mean, you look at in most cities across the country, many of the issues we have stem to poverty, and that poverty is often due to redlining, you know, and things of that nature, systemic racism that began decades and centuries ago that is carried forward. And so it's wonderful that we do have organizations that want to end that want to continue to move us forward.
Yes.
How does someone sitting at home, though, get involved? What can the average Joe sitting on the couch today watching this, what can they do to take part in these initiatives and help make Rochester and generally the world a better, more positive place and live in those words?
Well, I think it absolutely begins with just work in the community, looking for different opportunities within your community to get engaged. Education is also key. We have to know where we're going, but in order to know where we're going, we have to know where we've been. So absolutely making those connections with schools, with organizations who are willing to get that information out to our younger people, and making sure that we partner with such organizations as RMAPI to get the work done.
Well, and knowing where we've been. So important. That's why history is so important. Because if you don't learn from it, you're destined to repeat it.
Absolutely.
And that's the last thing we need.
Absolutely.
So, any recommendations though on specific organizations? I mean, I'll let you take this one.
Yes.
That
Specific
was a
organizations.
softball right to me.
Yes, exactly. That people can take part in.
Yes. So RMAPI is a collective, and I think the really unique thing about RMAPI is we're saying that this problem, poverty, is a community-wide problem. No one is immune to it. Even if you're not poor, you see the impacts of poor community members in our community. And we can work together to alleviate poverty and those conditions, which means things like improving housing, right? Improving education, decriminalizing poverty so that people who are criminalized by the justice system just because they're poor don't face some of those hurdles. Looking at some of our policies that, you know, today there's lots of conversation in the state government about the budget being passed. A lot of the things that are in the budget are things that can really help alleviate poverty, like the extending the child tax credit, right? Providing money and cash for people who are poor. That is that is really important. So there's policy that people can advocate for. There are opportunities to look around and see what behaviors are going on in your own organization, your own home, what the conversations are that you're having, right? Like all of those things make a difference. It's not about necessarily showing up and, you know, handing out food, although some of those things are important. It's really at getting at some of the underlying issues that continue to kind of make poverty in this community sticky.
The root causes that continue to hold people back.
Right.
Absolutely. We're going to take a brief break. We're going to continue this conversation after the break. Don't go anywhere. I've got more questions, follow up. So hang tight. Hang tight. We're back after this. With more on Dr. Martin Luther King and the influence within our community. I want to jump back in. There were other places I was going to go, but then we started talking during the commercial break, and I said stop because I want people at home to hear this. You were saying that these two younger folks were not around when Dr. King was killed, but you were.
Yeah.
You were 7.
Yes.
You remember the day.
Yes. I don't know that I remember the day, but I remember the intensity around that time, right? This was 1968. There was a lot going on in our country, and his assassination kind of shook the entire civil rights movement. But what I remember is people think that it was a long time ago, right? Like, it wasn't a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was 55 years ago. There are a lot of people who are still alive, including me, who were here when he was at his heyday. And the things that he said more than 55 years ago are still relevant today. We are still fighting the same challenges for the same reasons that we were then. Poverty is a choice. It is a choice. Our country has all the resources that it needs to solve this. What we don't have is the will to solve it. We have the resources.
Is that what's holding us back? Is the drive behind it, the drive to find sustainable solutions that everybody can live with, and solutions that can actually get the job done?
Well, I can speak to part of that. I think
Please.
Something that Aqua really emphasized was the need to work across different sectors and backgrounds to feed into a collective impact model and strategy, right? RMAPI has gratefully come out with this unity agenda that came from the Urban Institute's upward mobility focus. And you need resources and people who understand strategies and can give input from a variety of different backgrounds to come to a universal outcome. Heather McGhee, who's one of the well-known intellectuals of our time today, she's come up with this concept of how we need each other to form the strategy that we want to create in our community. And Dr. King was definitely emphasizing that. He worked across various demographics and backgrounds to encourage people forming a strategy against structural inequality. So that's a model that we should certainly continue to follow.
Absolutely. I mean, there's that solution, but I'm sure there are a ton of other ideas out there that people have, and yet a lot of people sit quietly and say, you know, I know somebody else is working towards something. Let's hope that one works. When I think if collectively, and I would think that you all would agree, that if we work collectively, that's how you get the best solutions. You have to have the conversation. You have to sit down at the table and have a talk to get a job done.
Absolutely.
I want to come to you
Yes.
because we're putting out a call today.
Yes.
We want people.
Yes.
We need people.
We need people.
What do they need to do?
So
what do they need to know?
They are interested in joining the commission and doing this work, we would love for them to send their resumes, to send a blurb about why they want to do this work with us, and they're interested in joining the commission. We are putting out a call to action, a call to membership. We need people who want to do this work and not in a silo, together across all sectors. And we are looking for bright, new ideas, maybe not even the best of the best ideas, but maybe an idea that we can take and we can shape and form in order to get this work done.
That is key. It's all of those ideas and continuing the conversation, because sadly the conversation happens today. And then more often than not, the conversation then goes quiet until next year or until next February. And that's not how it should be.
Right.
Not how it should be. I want to thank you, all three of you, for coming in today. I genuinely admire what you're doing. We need more of this in our community. Thank you very much for waking up, especially, because I know it's early. And we need to get you some breakfast in just before we start our workday. We do. 8:24, we're going to post all of this information on our website after the show this morning, foxrochester.com. We are back. Local headlines are up next.